Procrastinating so much that you can't get things done. Hi, I'm Cheryl Texera, and today I'm going to talk about procrastination and strategies to stop avoiding things and get it done. So let's get started. All right, so why do we procrastinate? We procrastinate for a lot of reasons, right? But some of the ones I wanted to address today are these: a lack of direction, a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge or a skill gap, and fear of failure and lack of motivation. So we're going to take a quick peek at all those. Be sure to say hi in the comments when you come on, and we'll be going through all of these. All right. So let's get to the bottom of it. Let's find some strategies for these problems. All right, so lack of direction, right? Lack of direction, not lack of time is the problem, right? We all have 24-hour days. I like that quote. I think it's a really good one because it's true. It's like we all have 24 hours in our day. And so if we are not motivated, and we're procrastinating, and we might be having a problem. So getting that direction and knowing where you're going is going to be critical for this. So let's take a look at that. Hi, good morning, Melissa. Thank you for joining. All right, so lack of direction. What's the fix, right? Well, we need to know what our end goal is. If you don't know what your end goal is, then it's going to be really difficult for you to implement, right? Have you ever done that where you start like, well, let's look at a perfect example of it's like baking something, right? Or making dinner, right? We all know that it's much easier if you do all the prep work ahead of time, right? And you're not trying to prep as you cook. Things go smoother, everything's more focused, you know exactly what you're doing because you got some of the prep work done. But if you don't have that, you don't know what your end goal is, you could just start cooking and your timing's off and you're hurrying to chop things before, you have to put it into the pan or whatever, right? And so that lack of direction and not knowing like what your recipe is and doing all that prep work so that you don't have to do it at the time that you're actually trying to implement, right? You're doing prep work and then you implement. So that's the kind of the same thing that we do at the strategic plan, the project plan, and the sprint plan level, right? At the strategic plan level, we're really looking at those high level goals, income goals and goals for growth of your company, goals for maybe the size of your team or, a certain amount of following and, whatever it is, your revenue goals, whatever. But that strategic plan is going to help you set those goals. And then the short-term goals are really your projects, right? How are you going to achieve the goals that you have in your strategic plan? Well, you do that by breaking things into projects, right? All those projects should align with the goals in your strategic plan. And then when you break it down even further to a sprint, now you've got that sprint goal, right? So during your sprint planning, that's one of the things you want to do is set a goal for your sprint so that you know exactly where you're heading for that sprint. And if you're particularly focused on a project, we do sprints here in the Boss Productivity Group. We kind of do sprints to manage your whole entire desk because we are playing so many different roles. But if you have a project, setting a goal for your particular project within that sprint will help you reach those milestones that you need to reach to keep on going. So make sure that you know where you're going before you start trying to implement, because that will save you a ton of guesswork and a ton of wasted time, right? You're wasting time doing something that now it's not working out because you didn't fully plan it out. So let's stay focused on that direction. Sorry. Okay, so lack of understanding, right? How to get it. I love this quote. An intelligent person is never afraid or ashamed to find errors in his understanding of things. I love that. So lack of understanding, what is our fix? Having direction does not mean there is understanding of how to get there, right? So now you might have a sprint goal, but now you need to know how to get there. And that's where that real recipe kind of comes in, right? You take those steps to learn the concepts behind your goals. You think like a reporter, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how, so that you can actually, get all the answers that you need prior to actually implementing. So you go through the process, you build your recipe, and then you start you start actually implementing that recipe. Same thing with prep, right? There might be some prep you need to do to understand what it is you're trying to do. So make sure you're doing that prep, make sure you know where your goals are, and make sure you understand how to reach those goals. All right, lack of knowledge. If you can't solve a problem, ask someone who knows, right? We can't learn in a silo. We have to have other resources. So having a network of friends, having a network of, people who have more knowledge than you in the area that you're going. It might not be your niche, but it might just be in things like this, right? Like in actually implementing, actually building out your business piece by piece, project by project, right? So making sure that you don't have skill gaps and you don't have a lack of knowledge is going to help you in the long run. So how do we fix this? Well, one is we plan time for our learning curve. If you have a skill gap, then let's recognize that as you're doing your sprint planning, and then find the resource, the right resource that you need in order to get that information that you need. And the more specific you are on the skill gap you have, the more focused you can get in terms of searching, right, for the right video and the right thing that you need. And there's so much free information out there that you could stay very, very laser focused, or get very, very laser focused by really picking apart the thing that you have to do and marking down what you already know how to do and what things that you really need to learn more about. And then you can do some great research so that you can learn from others and you can stay focused on your goals, the concept, and the skills needed to reach and finish your project or reach that finish line, right? So make sure that you are acknowledging those skill gaps prior to implementation, because the problem is that once we're already at implementation, you've probably already slated out the amount of time that you have available to complete this project. You may even have set a date when you want it done, all of those things. And if you now are like, oh man, I have all this stuff I have to learn, I didn't realize because I didn't think it through, now you can derail your whole thing. I mean, it could be a long time depending on the learning curve, right? So in my world in IT, as you may or may not know, I have been in application development for the last 25 years about. And so we've always had different kinds of skill gaps, right? Because we learn new technology continuously. We move from one language to another. I've learned all different kinds of coding languages in my career. And it's really important to recognize those skill gaps up front, because it really does take less time in the long run to take that time to learn the thing and then go apply it, rather than trying to fumble through everything and then, finally maybe getting an answer, maybe making it sort of right. And then it's broken the whole time and you really don't know what you're doing. And so every single time it's a crazy, ridiculous effort and frustration and all those things that come with it. So if you can identify what skill it is that you need ahead of time, it's going to help you a lot and it'll help you utilize free resources a lot easier than if you're just, scrolling through your feed and you find something, you're like, oh, hey, this might be the answer, right? So make sure that you're planning for that learning curve. All right, and then fear of failure. Fear of failure could be at the root of procrastination, right? So fear is another stepping stone to greatness. Whoops. And I love that one by Oprah Winfrey. And, of course, she's been, she's made huge achievements in her lifetime. So I'm sure that she has failed on plenty of her projects. That is one of the ways that we actually learn and improve and find our boundaries, right? We find boundaries of what works and what doesn't work so that we can find those secrets to success, right? And those secrets to success might be different for you than it is for someone else. It really is what works for you. So I'm sorry, I got goofed up because my thing rolled. So the fear of failure. So my fix for this is to just go for it, right? Create a baseline, fix what's broken. We call that in Scrum drive the spike. So drive the spike is it's a Scrum concept. So the Scrum concept of drive the spike is that there's this cycle in Scrum, and it's called assess is the first step, and then determine a solution, and then build at least part of it. And then you collect data and information, and then you go back through the whole entire process, and you assess from that data that you collected what needs to be fixed, what doesn't work, what works, what needs to be improved, all those things. And you just keep going through a cycle, right? Everything is a cycle. You're constantly in this cyclical process, which helps you keep your scope down. It helps you be flexible so that you can meet the needs of your audience more quickly, because you're only building part of it. You're not like, that's it, I'm building this whole Taj Mahal, and I don't care if people don't want a Taj Mahal, I'm just building it. They will come, right? Build it, they will come. But with Drive the Spike, you get this opportunity to actually try it out, right? This is where it's really important in the Scrum Boss Academy. This is one of the things that we do, is we strive to make sure that your offer converts first before you invest thousands of hours and thousands of dollars into everything that you're doing. We actually work on making sure of having you drive that spike, see if your offer converts, and then we start building that thing out, fleshing it out, making it better, stronger, more impactful, and keeping it flexible, because we keep building in iterations so that we can respond to the needs of our users at any time. We can move, faster, right? We can move faster. So keep that in mind, that if you are fearing failure, just go for it. But check yourself, make sure your motivation is good, make sure that you're not procrastinating for some of those other reasons, like true desire, right? Make sure that you're truly, truly desiring it. So the fear of success is the slide that I think I was on earlier. Oh, hi, thank you so much for showing. So fear of success, how do you stop fear of success? I mean, I've actually had a Scrum Boss tell me, I think I fear success. I think I fear success because I am worried about the time commitment that I'm going to have to put into this. I'm worried about, that people are going to expect things from me. I'm worried that I, won't be able to sustain it. She had a kid, and she was homeschooling and all these things with the pandemic and all this stuff, and she had responsibilities. And so she just had this fear of being successful, and that was holding her back. And it wasn't until we uncovered that and we really focused in on what those issues were, that we were able to help her overcome that. And now she strives, she's like, her work is out there all the time. Uh-oh, my dogs are barking now. Sorry. I have two lovely dogs. Okay, so the fix, understand your why. Understand your why. Why are you really doing this? Because you know what? You don't have to make money if you want to blog. You don't have to make a ton of money if you just want to help people. You don't have to do all those things. So making sure that your why is really wrapped, and there is actual, making a compensation for your work and your time is really something you want to do, because sometimes we just need a hobby, right? People need hobbies. And if that's something you love to do, if you love to write like my mom did, then maybe that's enough for you. So make sure that you understand your why, right? Make sure. And then I'd like to see you imagine that life that you want. Like imagine a day in your life. What does that story look like, right? What's the story look like today? And what's it look like in 5 years? Because I guarantee you in 5 years, if you keep working on your business, your typical day is going to look very different than what it does now, especially if you are doing all the things, right? If you're doing every single thing for your business all on your own, you may feel overwhelmed, right? And so that overwhelm is going to force you into creating efficiencies, right? Creating fast tracking things, maybe even workflows, things like that. Workflows can take all the thinking out of things so that you can just do, right? You just go through this workflow every single week. Like for content creation, I have a workflow. I do that same workflow just about every week. If I deviate, it does throw me off. So, but I have it, and I have that workflow. I know how to get myself back on course so that I can make sure I have my content each and every week. And I, and it doesn't stress me out and get me all, wild. And it takes about the same amount of time every single week. So it's predictable. It's predictable, right? Because we need our time and our energy to be predictable so that we can sustain it, right? And that's what Scrum is all about, is being sustainable. That's why Scrum works in cycles, right? 2-week cycles, or 1-week cycles, 4-week cycles, whatever your time box is that you're going to do a sprint. I did post in the comments, maybe it wasn't in this one. You can go to my shop, thescrumboss.com/shop, and you can grab my 2021 sprint calendar there. It's free. The code to get it is Freedom 2021, and you can grab that sprint schedule. That sprint schedule will help you kind of stay on the same sprint schedule that we are in the Scrum Boss Academy. So right now on this Monday, June 7th, we are in the middle of a sprint. We do 2-week sprints, and that 2-week period really helps us grow or stay completely focused on the things that we're doing, but it also helps us look back at that last 2 weeks and think, okay, what did we do good? What did we do bad? What did we need to improve on? How can we get better, right? And that's when we start looking at things like procrastination, and avoidance, all of avoidance behaviors that we do. So we want to get into those whys. So back to my story about my Scrum boss who was struggling with fear of success. And it was really because of the commitment of time and people starting to expect things from her. And so we took a hard look at her business and her schedule and everything. And we figured out a way for her to do it with just like 10 hours a week. And she's doing it. And it's working, she's doing it. It's working. She's going at the pace she can handle. And she's a lot happier and less stressed and less thinking that, she's failing, because she's accepted that she's going to go at this pace, at least until her child is old enough to, take care of himself and all those things. So it's really helped her to get more motivated, to stop procrastinating, and to stop worrying about all that stuff, right? You can make your business whatever it is you want it to be. It's just a matter of finding the solution to the problems that are in front of you that you face because of your situation, right? Right. So Melissa, I'd love to hear what your fear of success is. I'd love to hear why you fear that success, because I think that just talking that out, you can start finding a solution. And I I would love to talk to you more about that in a personal conversation, because I think that with Scrum, I truly, truly believe that it can help you overcome all these different fears: fear of failure, fear of success, because they're just stepping stones. All these things are just stepping stones, and all they are is obstacles that we need to mitigate, right? They're risks that we need to mitigate in our business so that we can thrive. All right, so lack of motivation. So I put anonymous on this, but I actually wrote this quote because I couldn't find a good one that I liked. Check yourself. Lack of motivation could mean lack of true desire. So do you really, really desire what it is you're working towards? So here's my, do you think you should want it? Do you know what it takes? Can you do what it takes? That to me is that motivation, right? So if you think you should want it, you are probably going to fail. You probably are going to hang it up. And you may actually be thinking in your mind that this is a temporary thing. And I want to say, I submit right now that if you're thinking short term, if your brain is thinking that you're going to do this for a while, then you're probably not in the mindset to do this, because you're actually creating a career path for yourself, right? When you work for somebody, you look for a career path, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm doing this job now. I'm going to just be great at it, and I'm going to get promoted to the next level. I'm going to get more responsibility. I'm going to have more pay. I'm going to have more influence in my company and all those different things, right? And so when you're on your own and you're doing a business on your own, it's up to you to create that career path. And it's also up to you to create structure in your business. Thinking about an office job or any type of a job, there is definite structure, right? And the role you play is very structured. You have a set of responsibilities, and you have to do those responsibilities. Other people do the other responsibilities, and it all comes together like a big symphony, right? It all comes together. Everybody does their part, and then it all comes together, and it works great together. But if you're all on your own, you have to build that structure yourself so that you can play all the parts that you need to play until you're able and willing to hire it out. You may not. Maybe you create so much efficiency and so many things that you are able to just run your business on your own. A lot of people do it, or with one VA or something like that. So it's completely up to you to build that structure and to build that career path for yourself. So do you really want to be a worker bee for the rest of your life, or do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to manage your projects instead of work within the project? Do you want to be able to delegate a project and say, okay, this is my goal, this is what I want and desire, now you guys go and do it? It's completely up to you, and it really depends on the number of hours you're willing to put in, the number of employees or freelancers that you want to hire. And by the way, there's easy ways to hire just one person by the job to try somebody out. You can use Upwork or Fiverr, or there's a whole bunch of them, right, that you can use to find people and just pay for just one job, have them do one job. So think about this, because if you let's say you're working on a project and you get behind, right? Well, you might be able to hire somebody to quickly help you get caught up, right? Depending on what it is. And if you've already created a good plan for yourself. If you didn't create a plan, you're just muddling through, you're not going to be able to delegate. But if you already have a plan and you're working toward that goal, you may have things divvied up into tasks enough that you could hire somebody to help you complete those tasks. All right, so as a solopreneur, it's up to you, right, to have long-term goals and short-term plans to get there, to identify and plan for knowledge and skill gaps. Allow time to acquire them so you don't have that gap in the future, right? So instead of just like muddling through it, pressing keys just to make it work, it finally works, and you're just like, whatever, thank God. well, then when you have to do that thing the next time, you're going to have to muddle through it again. So if you take that time to study it and figure out what the heck is going on and how it works, then it'll be easier for you the next time, especially if you create a cheat sheet for yourself, right? And then check yourself. Is what you're working toward really what you want? If not, you can change that goal, right? Look at it. If being your own boss is not what you want, or if you're not a strong, like if you don't feel like you would be strong at a CEO level, you can hire yourself a CEO. I mean, you might have to pay them a lot, but you could hire probably a part-time person to help you manage everything, right? To help you at the management level, and you can kind of be in that middle management area. It's really, truly up to you to design your business and your business model to how you want it to be. So think of the vision of 5 years from now, and then work toward that vision little by little, piece by piece, project by project, right? Project by project, guys. I'm telling you, like, building a business is about projects, and it takes the guesswork out of it. It takes the fear and the craziness and the goof ups and all that. You can take it all more in stride, because if something fails, you just start a project to fix it. If something's at risk of failing, you mitigate those risks, right? If you have obstacles, you overcome those obstacles. You just are focused on making things work, just like you would do if you worked in an office. You wouldn't just go to your boss and say, it's impossible, we can't do this. You wouldn't. You'd go in and say, okay, I have this idea on how we can mitigate this. I have this idea. I have this idea. So which one would you like to try? Right? Also, is owning a business something you really, really, really want? Or is it something you think you should want? If you love just, doing things more like at a hobby level, then just do it at a hobby level. If you don't have income requirements, you're good, right? But we all need a hobby, right? I mean, everybody needs a hobby. And so the more hobbies you have, the more, you stimulate your brain and all those things that we need to do to grow old, right? Is keep our brains focused, keep our bodies focused, or active and in motion, right? And keep our brain growing brain cells. So if you really don't want to own a business, and you really don't want to go through all that to build a business, enjoy your hobby. And actually, your hobby, if you just stay at it, might naturally become an income, a revenue generating hobby eventually. So, think of long term. Think long term when you're looking at your business. I know everybody, there's all this, make 6 figures now, do this now. Oh, it's going to be great. You're going to do all this. But sometimes we just have to stay the course and be the steady, and then it pays off in the long run. It depends on your level of time and, your abilities and your learning curve and all those things. For you, it might take longer, or it could be super fast. It really just depends. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you fail or succeed or anything like that. It simply means you have obstacles to overcome, risks to mitigate, learning curve to address, all those things, right? So that's all it is. It all boils down to that. It's not about a magic pill. I promise you. It's about projects, I swear. All right. So that's my crazy presentation that got goofed up in the middle. I'm sorry about that. But thank you very much. Be sure to go to my website, thescrumboss.com/shop, and get that sprint schedule, because that can really help you keep your focus on the next 2 weeks only, right? We're in the middle of a sprint now, only 1 more week. What are you going to do this week to get it done? And then we're going to start a new sprint, and we just keep repeating that process and working in these small increments. And that's how we stop overwhelm from overtaking us. As we just focus on the next 2 weeks. What are we going to get done in the next 2 weeks, right? Project by project, sprint by sprint, right? That's how you achieve those big goals. All right. Okay, you guys. So thank you very much for coming. And, check me in the comments, reach out to me, DM me, book a call with me. anything you want to do to talk more about your business and your situation and how we can help you make it happen for yourself. All right. Okay, guys, we'll see you in the comments. Bye.